Hi, thanks for joining me on the Everything and Anything and a Bit Gay podcast. I have had a large number of people that have been reaching out for interviews, more than ever. And last week, I think I got 45 requests for people that wanted to be on my show. Somehow, I think maybe I got on a mailing list or some website, and I normally turn down about 50% of people that come and ask to be on my show, just because if I don't have an interest in them or I don't think my audience would have an interest, I just skip it and just, say no, thank you. Um, I, again, talk about everything and anything that I want to or that I think my audience would appreciate on my show. There's been a lot of paranormal and psychics and mediums and stuff like that. And I don't want my show to be the X-Files show. Um, but I also love interviewing people that are trying to make a name for themselves, whether it's in their career and whether their career is in entertainment or they're acting or singing or dancing. I love supporting my community, the LGBTQ plus community. And I think it's so important, even in my real job, whenever someone comes to me that's in my daytime job and they're LGBTQ plus, and they ask for advice from the old gay man myself, or they just have a question about things. Like I always try to make sure that I give them that little bit of extra guidance. I want to help everybody that I work with, but I think the LGBTQ plus community, sometimes just supporting them is just makes me feel good. And the guest that I have today is a up and coming artist based out of Canada, and I think his publicist reached out to me, and I listened to some of his music, and it's got that '80s vibe, which is what I grew up with. And he was very open about being gay and his partner on my show whenever I interviewed him. And I just love that I was able to have him on and support him. Plus, he's Canadian, and who doesn't love a Canadian at this point? Everybody loves Canada. And so he was great for all those aspects. And I had him on, and I enjoyed talking to him. And his music is good. And so I hope you enjoy the interview I have with him and hope you can support his music. And his name is Jaymes Buckman. So leave me a message in the comments of this podcast or video and tell me what you think about the interview and what do you think about his music. Give him a chance. He's got a band that he is touring with. I have to say, one of the things that he talked about during the interview was that he was scared to come to the U.S. or he wasn't scared, but some of his bandmates were scared to come to the U.S., which is really sad because the U.S. is now seen as not LGBTQ plus friendly. And so we're like, one of these countries that are now on the do not travel to list for some people, which is very sad. Anyway, enjoy my interview with Jaymes and enjoy all my podcasts. Thanks so much. Hi, thanks for joining me on the Everything and Anything and a Bit Gay podcast. Today I have a guest from Canada. His name is Jaymes Buckman, and he is in a band called Hot Apollo. So welcome to the show, Jaymes.
Thank you. I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you. So I've done some research on you in the last couple of days and watched some of your videos. And I have to say, I love your music. And I'll tell you why, is because I'm a kid from the 80s and your music is very kind of got that 80s sound to it. I'm sure you've probably heard this 1,000 times already, but is that kind of your vibe that you were going for?
A little bit. It's all kind of in there. And the 80s are like very sort of important, like aesthetic to me. I mean, a bit before my time. So like, I'm not like the expert, but I do like the sort of like ostentation and like flamboyant sort of like party vibe a lot of the music from there had. And a lot of it spoke to me from like a very young age. Like stuff like, like the basic stuff like Duran Duran, like Van Halen, like
Yeah.
stuff was in my head when I was like 8 years old, and I'm just like, I vibe with it. All my friends listen to more current stuff. I'm like, no, man, there's something here.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you've got, it's definitely music I can relate to, and it's got a good vibe. There was one song that I couldn't get out of my head after I listened to it for a few days. You sent me the video to it, or it was the video, and it's a good song. So I'll post So just so everybody knows, Hot Apollo has they're on Spotify, they're on Bandcamp, they're on all the platforms. So I'll post links to all those in the description, either the podcast or the video that you're watching, and also post a link to Hot Apollo's website as well. So tell me, like, how did it all come together for you putting this band together?
I think like ever since I was like very young, like almost I don't remember much of my life before I knew that I always wanted to perform. Like even when I was like 3, 4 years old, my parents were like sending me to like you know, like theater camps and stuff like that, and I was like having a ball. I don't know if everyone else was, but I'm like there's something here. I want to be doing this forever. And as I got a bit older, I also realized I had a knack for poetry, and I started writing like poems and songs. And my friends were in bands, and they noticed and started like inviting me into the bands, and I did like particularly like working with them in the end. They were a little too unfocused for me, but I
Yeah.
realized I still like I like it enough to keep doing it and find the right people to surround myself with and build something together. And as soon as I realized like that's what I had to do, I started the band and never looked back.
Cool. And like, what's kind of your demographics of people that you're performing for? Is it, or that's listening to your music? Is it people? You look pretty young, so like, I think you're very young. Actually, you're in your early 20s.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the scene, at least in Toronto, the alternative scene where I am is it's pretty diverse. Like a lot of the like alternative clubs and venues, like you'll see people there in their early 20s, you'll see people there in their like 50s. You
Yeah.
know, you'll see people from all over. Some people like there's some people who come like from New York to like party in Toronto,
Yeah.
and it's a great mix of people. And so I'm not actually sure what our demographic is. My manager said like our listeners tend to be between like 25 and like 45. So I
Yeah.
guess there, but I don't know how like worthwhile that is.
How we came up with that? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, like, I can definitely see the 45, just because, like, again, it's got such a good 80s vibe, but kids that are in their 20s, I think, are all into everything. So, my nephews and stuff, they like all types of music now. And they're just, when I was growing up, you would never ever like, you kind of had like a type of music that you were listening to, and you kind of stuck to that. And now I feel like, with the internet and social media and stuff, you have all this opportunity to listen to all this great music. So,
yeah. I'm so glad that like we live in an age where we just have like more access
yeah.
to like the entire history of culture, and we can just like pick and choose what we like instead of just like being beholden to like the radio.
Yeah, or like I grew up with CDs or cassette tapes, so that's what you bought is kind of like what you had. So there was an app that I had when I was in college where you would steal music from. I can't remember what the name of the app was, where you would go in and download all this music, so you could it was like the first kind of streaming, but it was like illegal in a way. And yeah, I can't remember the name of it. But anyway, that's whenever I think streaming music started coming for me at the first time, where you had like access to all this different kind of music. And you're like, wow, like, it can be music a band that you never heard of that you find on this app. And so it's like it was like it was like Spotify before it was Spotify. So,
Yeah,
but
no, I like
illegal.
that. I like just being, I heard this like one song by a band, like for free. I can just like, go on like YouTube or whatever and like devour their entire discography in like, like a night. And it's like, back in, I don't know, the 80s or whatever, it would have taken like way more effort. It's like to like find out even if it's like really obscure, like find a record shop that has like the entire discography of like some band
Yeah.
that, like was around for like 3 years. Impossible, but now it's all there.
So who was some of your musical influences as you were growing up? You mentioned like Duran Duran and stuff, but any other musical influences, or is there music that you're like, wow, like I just love the way that they put together a song, whether it's their songwriting or it's the music itself, or whatever?
I can tell you the musician that like really made me certain that this was life for me. Because when I was like growing up, as I said, I loved performing and I loved writing, but like musically, like when I was a kid, I was not a good singer. I had to like work on that really hard over time. And I told you about being in like friends bands in high school. They did not let me sing because I was so bad. They said, we like your lyrics, but you're gonna have to drum because at least you can keep a beat and you're not like sounding bad. So do that. And I wasn't like really happy there. But and I didn't like really, I couldn't play like guitar or piano or anything that well. I learned a bit more over time, but I thought like, is it possible to be like a singer in a rock band if you can't really sing like a virtuoso and you can't even like play guitar? Because there's like Bob Dylan and like Leonard Cohen, right? But they were like, like brilliant guitarists too. And I thought, you know what, Iggy Pop, Like that dude had a very unorthodox voice, and he's like singing the same way since he was like 19 or whatever, and he's doing that to this day, and like just kind of like shouting the words in his soul and being like a maniac on stage. Like those are like the main things he had going for him, and that's kind of like what my skill set was when I started. And I thought, if that dude can build a successful career in music spanning like 5 decades, like I can give it a shot too. So that was the guy who made me like stop like waffling and just decide to go all in on music.
So you have a great voice now. So how did you go from not having a great voice, like you said, to having a great voice?
Just stubbornness.
Okay.
I thought, okay, for one thing, I'm proud of my words. So if my voice is like nothing else but a vessel for those words, then cool. But I thought, like, in the meantime, let's see how far I can push it. And I'm still learning. My boyfriend has actually been giving me some like vocal lessons too. He's great. He does like opera training. So he's like,
okay. Yeah. He's on a different level than
I've still never been the best singer in the band. Honestly, he's our bassist too.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm working on it. And just like, just repetition. It gets you somewhere. That might not take you to like the absolute peak. Like I'm not going to be singing opera ever, but I'm better than I was, and I'll be better tomorrow than I am today.
Yeah. Tell me about your songwriting. Like what inspires you? And are you the type of person that whenever you kind of like wake up in the morning, if you think of something, are you writing it down? And like, what's kind of your process for writing songs?
Often I'll just get like one phrase in my head and then kind of like build it out from there. A lot of my songs have started like that. If I had to think of like, I kind of like write in all types of ways, but if I had to think of like one kind of way that's recurred the most and made some of the songs that get stuck in my head the most, it's that. I'll get like one like line in my phrase and just like kind of like expand out.
Yeah. And are you coming up with kind of the melody and the everything? Are you coming up with it all whenever you're doing the song?
Sometimes it differs. I know like enough about like guitar and piano to like help with the sort of like musical construction, but often like it's a more like collaborative thing. Like sometimes I'll just like write some lyrics and get really excited and take them to the band and be like, hey, we have to make a song about this like right now.
Mm-hmm.
Or sometimes like they'll just be like warming up, like playing around with their guitar or whatever, and I'll be like, hey, what's that? And he'll be like, it's nothing. I'm like, no, it's something. Like let's like see what we can do with that. So the music is like a much more collaborative process.
Who would you, if you could pick someone like a artist to kind of perform with, let's say, even if it's live or it's recording with somebody, if you could pick 2 people, who would they be? Dead or alive?
2 people? Okay, I'll pick one dead and one alive. This is pretty old school, but I don't know. There's something about like Blondie. I've always liked their energy. They're fun, experimental. They definitely bring the party, and I feel like playing a show with Blondie would be like really intense.
Yeah.
And dead, I'd say T-Rex, because Mark Bolan, their leader, he was the first artist who really made it clear to me when I was a kid that you could just be like an out and out like geek weirdo, which I have always been, and put that into music, not hide it at all. Like he was like making songs about Doctor Strange in the 70s before anyone knew who that was, except like big nerds. And he like he put that the first song on his biggest album. And, like if you can be like, if you like mesh geek and rock star, like he did it like maybe before almost anyone, maybe Elvis, I guess. But so that guy always meant a lot to me. So if I could bring him back and play a show with him, that'd be really cool.
And so your parents sent you to camps and stuff for theater and stuff growing up. So are they like supportive of your music career now?
Yeah, very. My dad was the type who was like very artistic in a lot of ways similar to me, but he was also a little more sensible. So he, for the first 50 years of his life, decided to be like have a day job. He was like a doctor, and kind of like let the art on the side for a bit, and then got more into it later in life. He kind of felt a bit like living vicariously through me. He was like, he kind of saw me as like, okay, this is what I would have been if I wasn't like a doctor. So he got like a charge out of that. So he was like, always like really supportive and like understood it. It took a while for my mom to understand what I was doing, especially before I could sing well. She and my brother were like my harshest critics. In the early days. And,
is your brother younger or older?
Started off younger, became older.
Okay.
But yeah, I remember we have a song called Baby Lord, and when I showed that to my mom for the first time, she's like, "Oh, okay, you can sing now." And like that was like the last bastion of like resistance to my voice. I'm like, "Okay, I'm all right. I've made it."
Yeah.
But she's like, even when she didn't understand, she was always like very supportive and like always wanted me to do something in the arts. And it might not have been like exactly what she expected. She might have expected, I don't know, like a concert pianist or whatever.
Yeah.
But she nonetheless, like she's been like, she like probably more than anyone enabling me to do what I do.
Awesome. And has she seen you perform live?
Yeah, she was actually at Hot Apollo's like first show.
Wow.
I was like really stressed out for other reasons. It was like my first show, and I kind of I indulged in a little bit of diva behavior. My guitarist had a mustache that I thought looked terrible, so I insisted that he shave it off for the show.
Yeah.
And he said, "Okay, fine, I'll do it for for the band." And then right before the show, he and all the rest of the band draw Sharpie mustaches on their lips, just like mess with me. And I'm like, what are you guys doing? And then I got over it, and we had a great show.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the kind of thing I would learn, not to be so precious about everything.
So tell me what it's like to go on stage and to perform live in front of people. I mean, I can't even imagine the rush and the endorphins that you must get from that. So tell me that experience when the first time you did it and what it's like today.
It is actually like maybe like a strong contender for like the best feeling in my life. And it's so much of my life. I have a lot of kind of like neurodivergent stuff up here. So it's not that I have a hard time living in the present, but I'm also like living in the past and the future like all at once, and it can be a lot sometimes. And getting on stage and performing is like one of the only times when I feel just like in the moment and nowhere else. And I can be like super anxious like right before like I step in front of the mic about just like live stuff and everything, and then I get there and within like the first like 30 seconds of a song, like I'm in it to the end.
Yeah.
And I think it's like maybe the only time, one of the only times I have experienced like what they call flow state.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And what do you want to do next? Like, what's your goal? Like, do you want to do, I mean, what would be, okay, so I have two questions for you. What do you want to do next, a short-term goal? And what would your long-term goal be? Would the long-term goal be doing a world tour? Or, I mean, obviously that's probably what most artists want to do is that's, and where have you performed? Has it always been in Canada or the Toronto area, or have you gone to the US yet?
We've not been to the US yet. We've been talking about that. Are you based in the US?
I'm in Boston.
Okay. Cause I will say like we've been talking about this recently, especially this year. We've been getting some like offers, but also it's a bit like scary because I hear about like Canadians getting detained all the time.
No.
Queer ones, and not like I'm white, but I also have like blue hair, but also like most of my band is not white, and mostly not straight. So they're a little like scared. I'm a little too insane to be scared, but maybe I should be. So yeah, I mean, if you're up to like maybe talk to me like off mic sometime about this, I'd be curious to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, it's not. It depends on where you go, to be honest. So, this country is a little crazy now, but you're not gonna. If you come to Boston, Boston is so liberal. Great scene for live music, also in Boston. You're not going to get detained by ICE in Boston either. So super gay. Nobody cares if you're gay, straight, bi, trans. Nobody cares what you are here. As long as you're a good, decent person, that's all they care about. So
awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
Keep Boston in mind then.
Yeah, keep Boston in mind. New York would be a great place. There's lots of great places in New York you could go perform, and they have smaller venues and stuff that you could start off at, and obviously they had the big places, but there's so many great places in the Lower East Side and the East Village that you could go to that you would fit right into with your music and just your vibe and stuff. So I think you should come. I think you would do really well in the U.S.
All right. If you know if any venues are looking like maybe shoot me an email, and I'd love to like look into that, because I've visited New York a few times, but never like professionally. So really but yeah, in terms of future, so like right now we're focusing on getting our album out. We're releasing a new single in just over a month. We have a goth disco song.
Cool.
It's really cool. We got a really cool like drag performer in the scene to star in the video with us. And it's like one of my favorite videos ever. It won't be out for another month, but yeah, I'm super excited. That's called Slayance. And then the album at the end of the year. And long term, I kind of want to like branch out more into like multimedia.
Okay.
Like for one thing, it'd be cool to have. I've always been a big comic book fan. I think making a sort of like fantasy superhero Hot Apollo comic would be really cool, or like a cartoon.
Yeah.
And I don't know. As I said, I've always loved performing, and I technically do acting on the side, but like it's been a while since I've like had the energy to like really seek out opportunities there, because I've been like tunnel vision on the music. But yeah, like branching out and doing some more acting at some point would be cool.
And when you're doing your videos, so, who's coming up with the concept? Is it the whole band? I feel like you're so creative. Are you the
Yeah.
one kinda coming up with most of the concept for your videos?
Yeah, most of them I kind of come up with the concepts and like kind of hammer them out with the director, and then we just the I've usually the band members are a little shyer than I am, so I just kind of like drag them along, and then when they
Yeah.
get on camera, they get into it. They're kind of like performers too. The one I just mentioned, those seance, that was actually our actual last guitarist had to leave the city to follow their partner to Halifax to they got a job opportunity there, so they had to leave and pick up everything. But they actually, I think, came up with the core concept of the seance video, and that was kind of like our like sort of like farewell party for them, shooting that whole thing. So that's it's also like very special to me for that reason.
Awesome. And for the new song that you're releasing in a month, have you already done a video for it? And if so, what's that? Oh, you have.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about with the drag performer. It's called Seance.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Yeah.
And is there anything that you've kind of learned about yourself as you've been part of this band that surprised yourself about, like you're like, oh wow. I mean, you've learned to sing, you've learned to do videos, you've learned to write music, you've done all this stuff. But is there anything like surprised you about yourself as you've been in this band and kind of gone through this process?
Yeah. It took a while, and I kind of like touched on it earlier with that first show thing, but I did have to learn when to turn on the humility, because it's not something I take to that naturally, and I've learned to get better about doing that, and like listening to everyone else's thoughts, even when they like kind of collide with mine in a way I wasn't expecting, and that's been like so helpful. Like outside of that band too, but also especially musically, it's made it easier to like experiment a bit more. This album has like more songs on it that are kind of like a bit more experimental for us, and I'm really excited for it. And I feel like I might not have took to that so easily when I if I kept the mindset I did when I started out.
Yeah, and do you have any shows coming up, live performances?
Yeah, if you happen to be around Toronto, almost a week this Friday, August 8th, we are playing at a venue called Primal Note Studios. And then the next day at, I believe, 1 in the afternoon, we have a very short performance, like 15 minutes, at a big festival. It's called the Toronto Diversity Festival at Yonge Dundas Square, which is kind of, our city's kind of like Times Square.
Yeah. And what about in the fall? Do you have anything booked yet for the fall in case?
Yeah, we have a lot booked for the fall.
And will it be on your website?
Yes. Offhand, I know we're playing, I think the show I'm most excited for, we're playing a show on Halloween at the Bovine Sex Club. And Halloween shows are always awesome, so I'm super excited for that.
Yeah, awesome. I definitely hope you come to New York at some point, or Boston, because I really, again, think you'd be just a really good fit in both of those cities. So.
Yeah, I do too. New York's probably like maybe top of my list of places to play.
Yeah, well, come to Boston too. I'll take you out to dinner if you come.
Okay, that's awesome. Yeah, shoot me details about like what I should look for, and I think next like year or two, I want to make America happen.
Yeah, cool. And don't be scared of it. I mean, it is, things are going to change sooner or later.
I'm not scared, but the rest of my band needs to hear it from like people who know.
Yeah. So tell me what what's coming up, like even in 2026 for you after you're launching this new song in a month. Do you have a whole new record that you're working on, or a new album that you're working on that's going to come up in next year, or is that?
We haven't like made a timeline for any of that yet, but my guitarist and I did just like write a new song I'm super excited about. It's been in my head like all week. It's very funny how it happened. I just like, got really excited about writing these lyrics in my head, and I'm like, okay, it needs the sort of tunage I'm looking for isn't like typical party rock vibes. It's a bit like off of that. And he sent me this thing without me even contacting him, this like riff he'd written. I'm like, this goes so well together. This is exactly what I was looking for. And so, yeah, it's been stuck in my head all week. And it's definitely gonna be on the next album when we're ready to start that. Because I've been obsessed with it.
Yeah, cool. Awesome. Well, I think your videos are great. Everybody should go to, I'll put again your YouTube channel, your website, and all your links to your Spotify and Bandcamp and everything into the description of this podcast. and or the video if you're watching the video, and they should go check you out because again, I think you're great. I think you got a good voice, and your videos are very entertaining. So I'm so glad I got to talk with you and bring you on the show.
Likewise, I've had an awesome time.
Okay, thanks so much. And you're on Instagram, and I'll put your Instagram in there too. So follow Jaymes on Instagram and send him a DM and tell him what you think about his music.
Yeah, I'd love to talk.
Thanks everybody for listening, and be sure to subscribe and leave a comment and let us know what you think about this episode. Thanks, Jaymes.
My pleasure.